Hi guys, welcome back to Bow's Fan TV, and today we're back with another video doing the match reaction to last night's 0-0 draw against Drogheda United at Sullivan and Lambe Park. We mentioned in the preview how we expected it to be a scrappy game, and that's what we got. A 0-0 draw, not much in it really. We had our chances to win it, we gave up some as well, but overall it was a pretty frustrating night. And yeah, it's our third draw in a row. Another game without a win. You know, we're not top of the league anymore. We're still unbeaten, but it's another game without a win, and you know that is disappointing. But look, it wasn't a terrible performance. I think it was quite like the last couple of games where there were elements of frustration, and we know we can play better, but haven't lost the game. We could have. We did give up some chances. That the Mark Doyle one early on, of course, was probably the biggest one. He was in one-on-one and fired over. They had one in the second half where Todd had to clear it off the line. That was all they really did. Obviously, we had a couple of big chances of our own. Defoy and Colin Whelan. That was probably the biggest one. The Whelan one where both of them were in on goal and couldn't convert. And yeah, we did have some chances to win the game, draw it themselves as well, but ultimately there wasn't much to it really. It was a very scrappy game, a lot of it being played in the air, very physical, which we expected really. It's always very tough up in Drogheda. You can always expect a real battle up there, and we knew that was probably what was going to happen. It was probably a poor first 15-20 minutes. I thought we settled down a little bit after that, and ended the half stronger. Going into the second half then, it was a bit more tighter, and neither team really looking like scoring. But we did end the game stronger. I think we ended the last 10-15 minutes on top. There were a lot of stoppages. Obviously, the Shane Farrell one was quite a scary moment. It's good to say that he's okay now. But yeah, it was quite a tight game overall. And look, I think one thing that we can take away from the first 9 games, of course, is the fact that at the back we look so much better. Again, it's another clean sheet. Didn't really look like conceding, apart from a couple of the chances that we talked about from Drogheda. Again, really solid at the back. Absolutely a huge improvement from last season back there. But I still think going forward, there's still questions to be asked. I know the main thing is the fact that we've got injuries up there, of course, with James Taylor and Rooney. I think Colin Whelan is starting to struggle a little bit the last 2 or 3 games, particularly the Dundalk game and last night. He was really missing someone up there to support him. I think he has shown, over the course of his time with us that maybe he plays better with someone up there with him. And the fact that we didn't have Dougie to come on or play up there with him, or look, now we had Hugh Martin, who didn't get on. I think Whedon would really benefit from that, and has shown that he has benefited from that in the past. So the fact that he's up there on his own, and look, we had a very tough task against that Drogheda defence. There are a lot of very tall physical players, and obviously he's not that kind of striker. He's a player who likes to get the ball and hold it up and bring others into play, and we know he's really good at that. But he's not a player who's going to out jump defenders and win headers, especially up against the likes of Connor Keeley. So yeah, he had a very tough task up there last night. And look, it's not, we're not blaming him, obviously. It's just the fact that there's no one else really at the minute that can come in for him or be up there to support him. But I suppose the lack of creativity, the few chances that we had throughout the game, it is a bit of a concern. We're starting to see it now in the last couple of games, how the problems that we had going forward last season, are kind of coming back now. And it's just very important we don't, fall back into a kind of slump of, coming away from games saying, God, if we just took that chance, or if he done things differently there, we could have won the game. And that was the feeling coming out of the ground last night. How if we just took those couple of chances in the first half, we win the game. And yeah, we had a lot of that kind of feeling coming out of games last season where we didn't take our chances and ultimately it cost us, and we the fact we didn't create enough either was a concern, and that's kind of how it's been in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, it's very important that we don't fall into that habit again. Like we said, we were the team that were pushing in the final stages of the game, and we got forward a bit, and we made a few subs. We bring on Harry Vaughan and Diallo. We brought on Connor Parsons, but every time we got forward, we never really looked like scoring. Flores went to the left back, and every time he got on the ball, and he was looking to get across in, there was just no one in there that was going to win a header against that very tall Drogheda defence. We had the likes of Wheel and Vaughan, Parsons, all in the box, and they're not going to win those headers against those Drogheda players. So maybe we could have took a risk, and put Pat Hickey in there, and someone else could have covered at centre half just for the final few minutes, just to give us something. I think I know a few people in the away end were screaming for that. So yeah, there's something we could have done. I know he's doing so well at the back that you want to keep your shape, and Drogheda did actually break, not long before the game ended, and Hickey stuck a foot in and prevented the attack from going any further. But look, that's something we maybe could have looked at just as a kind of last resort. But yeah, very blunt going forward again, unfortunately, which is a disappointment, and we can't let this continue to be a problem now. We just really need James Taylor to be back fit really, really soon. He's rated as 50-50 heading into the game, so whether maybe he's being safe for Monday, I don't know. Probably not, but look, we'll wait and see. But yeah, it's very, very important that he gets fit soon. Otherwise, we may have to look at other things in the summer. But yeah, another draw. We maintain our unbeaten record, but it's very, very important now that we go into this game now on Monday against Waterford and get the 3 points, and then we have another game at home against Sligo on the Friday. So 2 home games coming up now against the bottom 2. It's very, very important we take 6 points from those games, with a tough run to come after that. And Waterford are off the back of a positive result, so they'll be feeling good. We're starting to feel a little bit frustrated by how the last couple of games have gone, but it's a good chance to get back to winning ways at home to the team bottom of the league. So yeah, we have to be looking at 3 points there. But yeah, a scrappy game last night, not much in it. Had our chances, gave up some chances as well, of course. But yeah, let's just hope that we'll get back to winning ways on Monday. And look, it's very important that we do that. So yeah, that's where I'll end it. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, comment down below your thoughts on the game, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.